Today, we're going to be doing a Q&A session. We're going to kick things off with some structured content, like some slides to introduce the CDMP exam, and then also talk through some news around the CDMP and the DMBOK. If someone says they would like information about the CDMP exam, you are in the right place, because that's the main thing that we're going to talk about today. My name is Nicole Janeway. I am the CEO of Data Strategy Professionals. Before I started the company, I was a data scientist. I started it in 2021, so we're coming up on 5 full years now.
Hello. Thank you, Nicole. Hello, everyone. My name is Teresia Midori, but you can call me Tessie. I'm a CDMP, and I've done the associate exam last March. I have experience in IT risk, data analytics, as well as data governance. I specialize in financial services industry, that is helping banks and insurance companies with their data issues. I'm currently pursuing a master's degree in analytics at Georgia Tech University. And I am born and raised in Kenya. That's an extra bit about myself. And I'm looking forward to the session. Thank you.
Thanks, Tessie. One question for you. When did you take the CDMP exam?
I took the CDMP exam in March of 2024.
Yes, I have taken it twice. I actually let it lapse the first time, which is silly. Don't do that. I took it in October of 2020, and then I took it again in August of 2024.
Yeah, the revised version of the book, right?
Yes. At that time, it was still based on the old book. I think they switched over in November. So we're on the new versions book now. We're going to talk about that newish, revised. Yeah, they did have a new test-taking platform between when I took it the first time and when I took it again last year. We can talk more about the test-taking platform. Okay, so I think that helps people to get a sense of how the exam has changed over time. You have a more recent experience that you can speak to. You probably remember more stuff about it than I do. This first one is an article that you can check out later. It's a good supplementary read if you want to check this out. Later, it is our comprehensive What is the CDMP article. The CDMP is an open book test based on the data management body of knowledge. Currently on the V2 revised, we should go over some of the differences. It's quite an extensive book. There's 500 pages of content tested on the exam. We have some strategies to help you get through that in an easier manner. Okay, so like I mentioned, it is an open book test, but that has a very specific meaning according to DAMA. So they say that it means you can either use your physical book or your ebook, but not both. So Tessie, out of curiosity, did you use a physical book or an ebook?
I used an ebook because it's easier to search.
Yeah.
I had another device with a book that I searched for, the answers. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. So for me, I used the physical book the first time I took the test. And then the second time I used the ebook, but I improved my score significantly, like 10 points with the ebook. So yes, I definitely recommend that. We do have someone asking in the chat about the physical book. It is certainly possible to get a passing score with the physical book. I think this is not the world's hardest exam. It is pretty straightforward. There's not a lot of trick questions. It's pretty simple to pass. There's still people that need to retake it. But in general, people do quite well on this test. That being said, if you want to optimize your score and have the best chance of getting what's called the master level pass, which is an 80% or above, then the ebook will help you a lot. Like I said, it was a 10-point difference for me. It is my job to work with this material, but I really did study the first time I took it. I got an 82, and the second time I took it, I got a 92. The main difference was the book. I don't think I got 10 points smarter. What we're showing on this slide is the recommendation to use that ebook copy. You need to have it on a separate device than the device you're taking the test on. The test-taking device will be locked down. You can't access an external monitor, so that won't work for the ebook. Keep your primary device for searching, and then think about taking the test on your secondary device, which would be probably a laptop that you might borrow from a friend. It's really hard to move your ebook off your first device, and you can't retain your notes if you do that. Start making friends if you need to borrow a laptop. Someone asked in the chat about honor lock. You do need an honor lock, but only on the one device that you're actually taking the test on. Tessie, do you want to talk more about that?
So the secondary device doesn't need honor lock because it's not being verified in any way. You don't have all the time to Google for answers. That's why it is important to prepare for the exam, because the time you take to search one question can take a long time to search if you don't know what you're searching for. Yeah, the second device does not need to have honor lock.
Yep. For the book device, they ask that you turn off the Wi-Fi to make it clear that you're just using the book as your resource. And there is an honor code you sign to maintain the value of the exam for everyone. Don't cheat. Goes without saying, that is never worth it. But yes, technically only your test is monitored with HonorLock. You also need the Chrome browser to have the HonorLock plugin running. So does anybody else have questions? I want to make sure we're answering them as they come up.
That Wallace is asking, how did you know you're ready to take the test? I'm reviewing and reviewing, not getting to the point where I'm fully prepared. So my experience with that was I did a lot of practice and repetition. So the more you get familiar with the content, the more easier it is for you to know what to search during the exam. And at that time, I also attended prep sessions like trainings to just discuss with other people, and having a trainer that is giving you, this is what is important, because the book is so big and you don't need everything. Attending the training sessions and doing a lot of repetition. And also when I'm reading through the book, I'm highlighting the important points during the learning sessions, because it's such a huge book for you to remember everything. So I think the more familiar you get with the content, the more confident you become.
Another component of exam preparedness is using the questions provided by DAMA when you sign up for the test. You get access to a test bank of 200 practice questions that are like the official practice. If you want to optimize your score, if you want to guarantee yourself the best score, just take those questions over and over until you are scoring them 100% correct every time. If you have them memorized and you're saving yourself time on the real exam, you will see a handful, maybe like 3 of those questions again on the exam. So when you see them, you're saving time and guaranteeing that answer will be correct because you will have studied it. So that is another thing I would definitely do, not just to assess your readiness to take the test, but also to enhance your knowledge. I wanted to also speak a little bit about HonorLock, which again, it's only running on the device where you're taking the test. It's the plugin that you use as you take the exam, and it monitors you. You allow it access to your webcam. Obviously, it's just going to make sure that you're not cheating. It is AI proctored, which means that if there are any inconsistencies talking to someone, that would be something they would flag, and then a human would review it. If your child comes into the room and you're telling them, hey, I'm taking a test, that might get flagged, but it's not cheating. Ideally, the human would just say, ignore that. We very rarely hear of anyone having issues with HonorLock or having their tests flagged for any reason. So I think that's good. It's just not creating a lot of false positives. Hopefully it means people are having really chill test taking experiences. HonorLock will monitor your activity using your webcam, and it also prevents you from tabbing out or changing windows, so you'll only have the exam up on your computer as you're within the exam time. Okay, so like we said, we're talking about the fundamentals exam. Generally speaking, it's the first test that people take. You can separately take the specialist exams if you want. You don't have to take them in any particular order, but we recommend taking the fundamentals exam first. This is how you would progress through the badge levels that we'll talk about. You need the book, and the book is about $95. You can get it from the publisher Technics Pub or from Amazon. The test is $311, which includes the cost of the test and the cost of the online proctoring. If you happen to be at a conference like Dataversity or at a DAMA event, if they have a pay if you pass exam opportunity, then I believe you just end up paying that $300 fee because the $11 is specifically for the web proctoring. If you do find a pay if you pass event, those are cool, but you'll probably pass, so you'll probably end up paying the $300 either way. Awesome. So like I mentioned, we have the exam tiers here. This is a little bit confusing, so I'm just going to go slowly and try to explain it. So the first thing is the CDMP Associate badge that you get when you pass the CDMP Fundamentals Exam. That exam is recommended for data practitioners. They don't actually require any kind of resume check or anything. They don't have to qualify to take the test. You can just pay them and take it. And then to pass and be awarded that CDMP Associate, you need to score at least a 60 on this exam. That's the test that we're going to talk about in focus today. And if there's interest in future sessions, maybe we can talk more about the specialist exams. To be awarded the practitioner badge or the master badge, you'd have to pass the fundamentals exam as well as, in addition to specialist exams, you have to pass all 3 exams within a 3-year period. And there's also this minimum score requirement. You have to attain the minimum score on all 3 exams. So again, that's the fundamentals exam and 2 specialist exams. So if I was going to be awarded the CDMP practitioner, I would need to get a 70 or above on the fundamentals and a 70 above on the 2 specialist exams. Moving on to the CDMP master, which is the highest level that people typically are awarded. That is really similar to practitioner. It's the 1 fundamentals exam and the 2 specialist exams, but you need to get at least an 80% on all 3 exams within 3 years. In addition, there is a resume review required for the master tier only. After you have attained all your passing scores, you submit your CV to DAMA, and there's a volunteer review of the resume. We have heard this takes a long time, like months, for them to get back to you, but it is a great credential. It's recognized widely, and there's only like 400 or 500 people around the world that have this level. There's one additional level, which I just wanted to throw out there in case you see it. There's only 3 people in the world that have the CDMP fellow, and they are all senior practitioners. They've contributed to the DMBOK. They're heavily involved in DAMA. So this is like the kind of honorary title that they receive after years of service. But yeah, maybe there's a future CDMP fellow among us. It definitely encourage you guys to stay involved with DAMA. Maybe one day you too will be endowed with a CDMP fellow.
There's a question for you, Nicole.
Okay, so the question is, why did you take the exam twice? You mentioned you'd scored an 82 and a 92. Yeah, the first time I took it, I let it lapse, which means I didn't take the 2 specialist exams within the 3-year period. So I needed to take the fundamentals exam again to be eligible. I'm a CDMP practitioner. I graduated from college almost 10 years ago, so I don't yet have that 10 years of data experience because I studied something very random and non-technical in college. I'm still waiting on that CDMP master, but that is why you have to take all 3 exams within 3 years. Hopefully that answers your question. Tessie, there was one question from Michelle. There are some live sessions during events. So mostly people take the test online, but there's conferences like Dataversity's EDW DGIQ conference. DAMA chapters can hold a pay if you pass event, but they're more rare because DAMA chapters can only do that once a year, and Dataversity always once a year in the US. It's an opportunity that's out there. I think you can look on the dama.org website and see what you can see in terms of events. They might have some listed, and maybe there's one that's close to you. So Barry, you had a question as well?
Yeah, Nicole, you mentioned that DAMA is the best place to go to get the questions before the exam. I noticed that Udemy also has test-related CDMP questions. Do you have any experience on either one of those? Which one would be better?
The DAMA questions are free. So when you buy the exam, you got access to the questions. So definitely start there. And then if you feel like you need additional practice, like you've answered all of those, Udemy would be like a competitor of data strategy professionals. That said, honestly, I have heard the quality of the questions is not great. There's questions that are wrong or they're too easy. They don't have explanations. So we also offer free questions. There's only like a handful of them. This is just kind of give you a flavor. We like to provide the explanation and the citation so you can understand why the correct answer is correct, why the incorrect answers are incorrect, and also where to go in the book to look it up and find more information so you can research it on your own.
Okay.
But yeah, definitely start with the free questions and go from there.
All right, great. Thank you.
Okay, Tessie, when you took the exam fairly recently, how many scenario-ish questions did you see versus more definition or concept-based questions?
We say for the fundamental exams, most questions are not scenario-based. Most questions are definitions, like understanding the book as it is, as opposed to application of the book. The scenario questions, I think they are more on the specialist exams. So I wouldn't worry too much about the application part of things in the fundamentals exam.
Yeah, I would say there is almost no scenario-based questions on that fundamentals exam. For the specialist exams, there's many more challenging questions, but for fundamentals, they are concept-oriented, generally speaking.
And all questions are multiple choices questions. Yeah.
Yes, we didn't say that. My bad. We should add that. Let me pull up some examples. This is our article where you can check out our handful of free questions in a blog post. You can see all of the questions on the fundamentals exam and the specialist exams are like this. choose the single best answer out of 5 options. Sweet. So what is tested on the CDMP? What you see on this slide is the 14 topic areas, and it's overwhelming. If you had limited time to study and pass this exam, I recommend focusing on the topics here that are the most important. What you see here is the percentage on average of this content. On the exam is 100 questions. So on average, you could expect 11 questions on data governance, 11 questions on data quality, 11 questions on data modeling, and so on. In fact, these 7 domains comprise 70% of the CDMP Fundamentals Exam. Hopefully take the test sooner and get a better score because you've spent more time on that content. Okay, Tessie, do you want to take test prep strategies?
Yeah, we've probably touched about this in one way or another. I think the best thing to know when you get into the exam is it is an open book exam, but you don't have as much time as you might think. When you do the practice questions before the exam, practice in terms of the time frame you'll need to answer one question. Try to answer a question within slightly over a minute, not more than 1 minute and 30 seconds. You don't have to search for all answers in the book. You've practiced, you've done your research. So sometimes you can see an answer, you're like, maybe I know this is right. I'm not very sure. If you're like 80% sure it's the answer, just guess it. Don't try to look for all answers to make sure that you're right. You don't have enough time. And just note down the questions that you might find challenging and come back to them. Don't study until 3 a.m. and then you have to take the exam in the morning. As you study, ensure that you update your book with notes about any questions that you found difficult. Do you have any other test taking strategies, Nicole?
Yeah, sleep is so important, guys. When you're studying for something, your brain needs time to create these new pathways. Prioritizing a relaxed lifestyle can be really beneficial for your retention of the material. And make sure you feel rested. You have flexibility in terms of when you schedule the test. If you know you're a morning person, then try to take the test in the morning. Try to make sure you feel energized. Like when I took standardized tests, like the GRE, GMAT, they recommend drinking orange juice because your brain needs sugar to function, just like an athlete needs sugar during a race. Having a low glycemic energy boost can also help your test taking performance. Anything you can do to make sure you're centered, focused, and ready to read a lot of questions and answer choices. Because that's like the biggest challenge I find, more so with specialist exams, because the questions and answer choices are all longer. There's just more to read. And I found myself zoning out several times while I was supposed to be focused. And I just wished I'd done more, taken time to center myself, whether that was through meditation. Don't just sit down, throw yourself on the couch or at your desk and take the exam, basically. Be mindful in the lead up to the test. So those are, I don't know if that helps anyone.
The orange juice helps.
Anything else you thought of?
No, basically you've said it all.
All right. So now onto the newsy part of our agenda today. We're going to talk about changes that are coming up, not within the next year, but the following, like 2027. But yes, the DMBOK V3 initiative.
Yeah, DAMA is rewriting the DMBOK. This new version is called DMBOK 3.0. They're not just updating the book, they plan to rewrite the entire book. It's to keep up with the changing data world. We have a lot of new things, Gen AI, agentic AI, and organizations have grown between the time they published the first book and this time. So they're designing the book to cover 2 major components. We will have data management standards that organizations can follow. They will also have a data management reference guide, which is a practical guide for people within organizations that are implementing a data governance, data management program. They don't know where to start. And so they will give more guidance and more prescription on where people can leverage the data management standards. The DAMA wheel will remain, but be redesigned. So they're collecting a lot of input from community, from practitioners. They're crowdsourcing on how they will design the book. And the next slide, you'll see how you can get involved and what to do as you're preparing for certification. And definitely, you'll be able to get a chance to contribute to the development of this new book.
Okay, so just to touch on how this benefits us as a data management community, we have the opportunity to help write the standards for our field. They're soliciting input right now There's a survey open right now. They're soliciting input on the current DMBOK, like how you're using it, which chapters are helpful, which chapters are less helpful. There's a town hall, so you can learn more about what DAMA is doing and also get your voice heard in terms of the process of creating the DMBOK v3 package, which, as I said, is due out in 2027, specifically targeting Q2. They're unlikely to update the CDMP right away. It'll take them time to write exam items based on the new reference book. So the CDMP will still be valid. It will be based on the DMBOK V2R for the time being. We do have a blog post on the V2R. They did publish some of their changes. We did our own analysis. We put all of the changes that we could find into this blog post. We ultimately found that, yes, it's an update, but you can absolutely take and pass the CDMP without buying a new book, especially if you're studying the highlights that we put in this article. The DMBOK V2R improvements are pretty superficial. They're correcting typos, they're renaming, captioning diagrams. They're mainly addressing issues with the first book, the edition V2, rather than like actually reorganizing the content, with the exception of one chapter. You can read more about that in this blog post. But yes, you can take the test with either book. So just wanted to call that out in case anyone was wondering. We are also planning to overhaul our study materials when they release the new book. We're excited about improving everything so we can get people ready for the new test when that's available. How you can get involved, like I said, the QR codes here. First one is for the town hall. The other component is the survey, which is mostly about V2 and then the vision, how we move forward and create a solid V3. When you complete that, you'll also get a discount code for the publisher of the DMBOK. So you can use that when you buy the book or the updated book, perhaps. Anything else on this, Tessie?
I think just to keep yourself updated by following DAMA International on LinkedIn. They do post the updates there, and follow our DSP page on LinkedIn. We also post updates from the DMBOK.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. We've been trying to keep our finger on the pulse.
For sure.
Okay, that was all of our planned content, plus some digressions into useful blogs. Do folks have additional questions?
Will there be an update on vocabulary? Is a glossary book the only reliable source for terminology used in the workplace?
You're the first person I've ever heard talk about the DAMA glossary. Good for you. I haven't read it, so you'll have to tell us. It sounds like you like it. I don't know if they're planning to update it or not. You should go to the town hall and ask there.
Ask more for sure.
Yeah, so this is the DAMA website. This is their new website for the 3.0 project. There's also the classic dama.org website. Maybe they're having so many visitors right now.
For sure.
So excited about DAMA. But yes, I did see one question about the glossary. So yeah, TechnicsPub is a publisher of the DMBOK, and this is where you can find the glossary. Again, if you fill out the survey, you get some kind of free coupon for TechnicsPub, so you can save money on the glossary. Cool.
I also think they can join the LinkedIn group. Many people who are trying to practice for the exam or learn the ropes for the exam go into such groups to look for inspiration. You can post your exam experience. Yeah, helpful to share in online platforms.
Yes, I definitely second that. People share, do a write-up. Obviously, we can't share specific questions that we saw, but we can talk about what we did to prepare, whether we felt like that was sufficient preparation and maybe what we would do differently or how we would manage our time differently. All of that stuff just to encourage other people to take the test and feel ready. It's really beneficial, and those posts always get a lot of love. So yes, definitely do that once you take the CDMP. Unfortunately, we don't have a mentorship program anymore, but I do recommend joining the groups. Like I said, the CDMP study group as you're preparing for the test, and data strategy professionals on LinkedIn. These are really good communities of practice to kind of network with your peers and learn from other people at that cutting edge. Yep, that's what I would recommend. Okay, thank you guys so much. If you think of more questions, just hit us up. Feel free to ask in one of these groups. We look forward to following all of your success as you take the test. All right. Thank you so much, Tessie. This was really fun.
It was really nice to have the conversation.
Thank you, everyone.